for support, and I get it completely. I really, really do. And I think there are times when the crowd can be super helpful to a team. I also think, first and foremost, though, fans react to what happens on the pitch. You know, that is just human nature for me. Like, you know, you can be the biggest, most positive supporter in the world. What are you going to do if Arsenal are 3-0 down? I mean, you can stand there and clap and go, come on, guys. But what difference is it going to make, really?
You can't deny what's in front of you with your eyes.
Absolutely. So, you know, at the end of the day, for me, it's always up to the players to set the tone. That's why, you know, if we're at home and the team starts fast and we make a couple of chances and someone puts in a big tackle,
fans are excited, and they're kind of confident.
Everybody's in. But if the opposition have the ball for the first 5 minutes and they have a couple of shots, or if they score a goal in the first 5 minutes, you know, what way are people supposed to react to that? You know, so I think it's normal. It wouldn't be normal if people weren't nervous. It wouldn't be normal if the players weren't feeling a bit nervous. What I think is quite interesting, though, is I think when the final whistle went on Sunday against Chelsea, we stop and we think and we start to analyze that performance, right? We think about what could we have done better? Should we have done better against 10 men? Yes, we should have done better against
1,000,000%.
No question about it. So we go on our blogs or podcasts or forums or social media or whatever it is, however, your WhatsApp groups, whatever way you want to talk about the game with your mates, and you talk about it and you analyze it and you pick things apart. I bet you those players after the game were like, okay, that was tough. Maybe it wasn't great, but we won. And now we forget about it and we move on. And I think the nervousness lives a bit more in us than it does in the players, because they will see that as a really tough game against a good side, a good Chelsea side, and they came out with 3 points. And for them, that's where they will take the confidence and the belief that, you know, they'll say, well, you know, we didn't play our best. We certainly didn't play as well as we should play with 10 men or against 10 men. We still won, though. So they'll yeah, exactly. It's sort of the counterpoint to our nervousness is them going, actually, you know what, we can play better. And if we play better, we've got a better chance of winning our next game. You know, so I don't think it feeds into the psyche of the players as much as it does to the fans.
It's a weird one because, like, if you mention like the certain, I don't want to say negatives, but negatives in the Chelsea game at home, definitely when we drop points to Wolves. I feel this season, like the good, bad, and the ugly, I've kind of seen the same kind of things with our football club. So like, I think it'd be naive if I just start putting it down to nerves and things like that. I get it because of the climate of the season. We're in the business end of it. When you start seeing mistakes or certain other concerns, yeah, it's easy to say the pressure is getting to them. And as you've basically been saying, it should. You're human. Take the good, take the bad, relish it really and truly. And this is what makes football what it is. And I wanted to ask you as well, because for me, there's a lot of things from last season and this year that I don't feel is clicked into gear. I don't subscribe to we play boring football and all of that, but I wouldn't say we've been at our free-flowing best. I don't feel I've seen a level of consistency from our attacking unit that I would have. But at the end of the day, like, as you said, we're still in all comps, we're ticking over, we're fighting for the league. Like, if you feel that way, or if not, like, at this point of the season, do you think that will ever quite click, or is it kind of, it is what it is until the end of the year, and that's kind of next season's for something to address?
Yeah, I think at this point, you know, what have we got? 9 games left in the Premier League. Yeah. I think it is what it is. Which isn't to say that somebody might not hit form, you know, Saka or, you know, Kai Havertz if he comes back, or maybe Martinelli, or, you know, one of those players might go on a run where it sort of skews our attacking numbers and attacking effectiveness in a really positive way, you know, and we might and probably will need that between now and May for somebody to really catch fire, if that's the right way of putting it. But you know, there's a weird sort of, you know, I agree with you about our attack. When you look at the raw numbers from our attacking players, particularly of late, they're not great, you know, but nobody scored more goals than Arsenal in the Premier League. I find it, you know, it's just one of those mad things where I don't think too many people would argue. Nobody is going to say that this Arsenal attack is really firing us to the title, right? How can it? You know, Trossard hasn't scored since December in the league.
There's a lot of coldness from everyone.
Exactly. You know, there's the numbers. When you just look at the numbers for most of our attacking players, they're not great. and certainly below what we expect from them. And yet, nobody has scored more goals.
So what does it say about us and about everyone else?
Yeah, well, it might say something about everyone else. It might say something about maybe it's a bit more sustainable to share the goals around. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, to give ourselves a better chance of winning the league, we need more from these players.
Everyone can go up the gears.
Yeah, exactly. Even if those numbers aren't great and we still have scored more, I look at it as a slight bit of a problem, So it's something I think we're just going to have to deal with between now and the end of this season. Maybe there's a way for Mikel Arteta to get a bit more out of his team, or change things up from an attacking perspective. We do have some injuries, of course. Havertz has been injured most of the season.
Need him to stay fit.
Yeah, Odegaard is out. Trossard isn't scoring really at the moment. Martinelli's only got 1 goal in the league all season long.
Crazy.
Gabriel Jesus, he scored a couple since he came back, but basically both of those goals were the 4th goal when we were already 4-0 up.
Yeah, we've already done the business.
So and it's to take nothing away, but that's where we are with him. So I think there is hopefully a bit more to come, but the idea, I think, that Arsenal all of a sudden as a team are just going to click and become this smooth, silky attacking force, I don't think that's going to happen. We are what we are this season.
Yeah, exactly that. It would have happened by now. Which, fingers crossed, I'm proven wrong, but it kind of is what it is for me, Andrew, man.
Yeah, I mean, but we're very effective at what we are. We're good at being what we are. And I think maybe what it is there is a desire perhaps from outside, and maybe some Arsenal fans, and, a lot of people have grown up with, the best Arsene Wenger teams and the kind of football that they played, right? And I was one of those people, and I love to see that kind of attacking football. But I can't deny that this Arsenal team is exceptionally effective at getting results, even if there are certain aspects of the game which aren't quite to everybody's taste.
It's a results-driven business.
Well, that's exactly it. And if we get over the line, and if we win the Premier League this season, you will not hear me complain. You won't hear any of it. I mean, there will be people complaining, of course. I know. Listen, I agree with you, but there's going to be some guy out there, or more than one guy out there, going, Arteta, he only got over the line because of set pieces or whatever it is.
Stop letting us build them.
You can't say on the one hand that we've got to win the trophy, we've got to win the Premier League, but then we didn't. There's no extra prize for artistic merit, right? You don't get style points in the Premier League. And the reality is that, for quite a while under Arsene Wenger, we played lovely football, but didn't win anything.
Exactly. That's what led to Wenger's demise, in that when he started at Arsenal, he was ahead of the game. He was innovative. He had certain things he wanted to introduce that the world didn't catch up. And unfortunately, whether it was on the field or working with agents and things of that ilk, what got him here didn't keep him in the job. And as much as it kills me to say, people love to say they loved it. We're a soft touch. We're weak. We're this, we're that. I think people are just they don't hate corners. They don't hate negative football. It's just the fact that the people who used to get bullied are now the bullies at it. And what jars me is when people sit there and say people ruin football. Arsenal's 1 team out of the 20 in the Premier League. We've got 16 corners that we've scored. In a day and age, there's probably 100 odd in the Premier League. People don't look at our touches in the yacht box, which me and you were just talking. We want to see us convert these kind of opportunities, but we're generating corners. And it's not our fault if you can't stop or mitigate against the numerous routines that the coaching staff have, if you can't defend against the same, the second ball. And what is annoying is that is the day and age of the game now. Games are not entertaining. It's all about the collective versus the individuals. There's all inverted fullbacks and all of that, and both teams cancel each other out. As much as I want to see attacking football, I've criticized Arteta generally of our ability to break down sides. So if a low block can be broken down by a set piece, it makes them want to come out. Great stuff. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this whole entertaining thing, why should we entertain the world? Obviously, if we play boring football and don't win, then internally at Arsenal, we need to ask ourselves what we're doing. But I just find it quite jarring. And that's something I should let me ask you about. What do you make of the media sentiment? Because I think it's quite shameful, if I'm honest with you, in the sense that 2-3 weeks on the spin, we're scoring from open play, which we're up there, as you said, for that. We get back to scoring from set pieces, in which Arsenal and Chelsea scored from that. And they were really the only chances. And now it's set piece FC, it's this, that, and the other, where other teams are starting to benefit from it. Liverpool have improved at that. United have improved at it. It's annoying.
Listen, there's a reason why we are the best at set pieces in corners. It's because, and I wrote about this during the week, Mikel Arteta, I think, correctly identified the need to maximize every aspect of the game. And I drew a line back to the Brentford game. Do you remember the Brentford game in the season where we had loads of people missing with COVID and we lost 2-0? And one of their goals came from either a corner or a long throw. I can't remember what it was. And Bernd Leno got bumped out of the way. And everyone was going, well, the goalkeeper's got to be stronger there. And I think
he's happened to Ramsdale every week as well.
I think that is Mikel Arteta's set-piece origin story. That day,
I make you right.
When he saw what happened and he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to build a team that can withstand that, but I'm also going to build a team that can inflict that kind of pain on other teams. I absolutely believe that. And it took a while to get there. I think as well, he sort of recognized the fact that in the Premier League, you have the best coaches in the world. The money means you've got the best players in the world. Doesn't mean there aren't good players elsewhere. Of course there are. But generally speaking,
in all aspects.
Generally speaking, your bottom of the table in the Premier League team has the ability to put together a squad that is far higher quality than, let's say, a team that's down the bottom of Liga or La Liga or the Bundesliga, 100%. Because they simply have that much money. So you have tactical developments. You have a raising of standards from top to bottom in the Premier League. Organization, discipline, tactics, the way teams are organized. Nobody's a pushover anymore. Look at what Wolves have done in the last couple of weeks, right? Everyone's sort of like, I don't think it was a good result for us at Wolves. Of course it wasn't. But it's probably not a coincidence that Wolves have just taken points off Arsenal, Liverpool, and Aston Villa. Because they're just not terrible. Like, they're maybe the worst team they might not even be the worst team in the league at this moment in time. But
down the road in current form.
Exactly. They had a really terrible start to the season. But what I'm saying is that's a great example of how these so-called smaller teams can cause you problems, right? So if you're playing a team and you're Arsenal and everybody recognizes that as Arsenal, you're a really good team, who's going to come to the Emirates or who's going to allow Arsenal to come to their place and just say, you know what, we're going to play a high line. We'll play on the halfway line and we'll give them all this space to put it. Just
it's suicidal. It'd be stupid because when teams open up against us, we've blitzed them, which is probably different, but that's probably been our case so far in the Champions League. Maybe it's not because Spurs wanted to play open. They actually tried to be defensively minded. They're just poor. That's what we want. Every Arsenal fan's been crying for that. You're bang on, man.
And how do you deal with that then? If goals from open play become more difficult to score, which is a consequence of how football has gone, who's the idiot that doesn't look at set pieces as a way of trying to offset some of that? You know what I mean? And the other thing I'll say is that you don't get a corner from playing in your own half.
And this, please continue, Andrew, because I'm happy someone else is going to say this.
Well, I mean, that's all I have to say about it, is that you don't just get a corner randomly at some point in the game. Why do you get a corner? Because you've played the ball and you've put them under pressure. It's a cross that's blocked behind. You're making them defend. Someone's got to head it over the bar. You are making them defend in a last-ditch manner, because if they have time to defend, they put their foot through the ball and the ball goes halfway up the pitch or it goes out for a throw, right? But last-ditch defending means corners, and that means you're putting pressure on them, and it means you're playing the game in their half, in their final third. And if we're really good at that, as well as being really good at corners, it's
be stupid not to marry the two together. You'd be absolutely silly, really.
Of course, and what happens if you're not good at set pieces? You lose games in this day. Managers lose jobs and fans lose faith. To me, it's just the most absurd criticism. I think, where there is probably a legitimate discussion to be had is like, how do we stop corners becoming like mud wrestling? WWE.
Mud wrestling, WWE. I saw Man United, Everton. Obviously, Man United did it against SARS. You got to look at the goal Timber scored. Saliba's being bear hugged. We obviously do it. Everybody's bending the rules as they should. Slot's been crying. Moyes has cried. Carrick's cried. But their teams have all improved at set pieces. Arteta has moaned about it and got better at it. It's a necessary evil in this game.
I agree, but I think there is probably, I don't know how they fix it or what they do. There is probably some discussion to be had about, how players are able to hold each other, and
100%.
it does look at times, it looks a bit more NFL than football, right? Where it's blocking, it's holding, it's obstructing, and it's basically unrefereeable, because if you look at one player and say, actually, that could be a penalty, there's another player being pulled down by somebody else, or David Raya having his foot stood on by a Chelsea player. You know what I mean?
Away with one against us as well.
If you're going to you could give 3 penalties every corner, or you could give 3 free kicks to the defensive team in every corner. So I don't know how they fix it, but the idea that any team should be criticized for scoring more goals from set pieces than anyone else is just, it's absurd to me. It's just sour grapes. I get if people don't like it, if it's aesthetically unpleasing, if it's not the football they grew up with, but this isn't the football you grew up with. The ex-player.
They grew up with, there had to have been an element of scoring from corners. You look at the 1999 final, Man United scored the winner from a corner. Everyone remembers Trent Alexander-Arnold the other day for Liverpool taking it quickly. I don't think people hate corners. They just hate the fact that we're one of the best at them. Nobody really cares about Brentford's long throw. If we were able to do that, which I hope we get that one day, people would have a lot of things to say. And I think unfortunately, that's the way the game is. Like what you said about, the money in the game, the best coaches, everybody's got tactical nous. The margins have gone like that. So you're going to kind of feel like that. By all means, a wider discussion about, is this entertaining? And there probably will be a rule change of some point, even though I think FIFA and them lot have said no. But the game's the game. It's either you bend the rules or adapt, or you keep crying, really. And that goes for every team, including us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree. And I think... I think you have to recognize, and listen, we talked about Arseblog being 24. Like, football 24 years ago was really different than football now. Way different. There was a real gulfing quality between the top teams and the rest of the teams that isn't there. Tactically, it was not the same. You played a 4-4-2. Basically, everybody played a 4-4-2, and that was kind of it. Somebody would come in and play 3 at the back, and wing backs, and they would be a defensive team. And I think I said this on one of my own podcasts this week as well, is that football finds a way to react. It always finds a way to react. And the example I used was when Arsenal, maybe post Invincibles, went a little bit more technical, right? Lost some of the physicality, but we brought in these really gifted technical players, Fabregas and Hleb and Rosicki and Wilshere and these kinds of midfielders, right, who would literally pass the ball in triangles around the opposition. They couldn't get near it.
We used to be sick of it.
Well, what was the reaction to that? The reaction to that was Sam Allardyce and Tony Pulis and these traditional English managers deciding that physical long ball football was a way to counter Arsenal, as well as some horrendous on-pitch violence, was a way of countering Arsenal's technical brilliance. If we can't beat them with the ball, we'll beat the shit out of them when they have the ball or when they don't have the ball.
And that's even something Arteta we've kind of flown over it. The physicality of our players has improved, and their willingness to do that.
Yeah. So, football will always find a way to react. And I think, over the next couple of years, we'll see changes in the game, and we'll look back and say, maybe now you might talk about how, if you kind of really love what might be called in inverted commas, the beautiful game, right? Where are the individualists? Everything is so system orientated. Everything is so structured, and players have to understand so much about the game, right?
It is like NFL in that regard. You got to remember plays and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. But where are the individuals? Where are the Mavericks? Where are the guys? Your Alexis Sanchez, your Santi Cazorla, these
people that made us fall in love with the game, quote unquote.
Yeah, exactly. I think they'll come around again, because what they might become is a really important way of breaking down teams who continue to sit deep. And if you've got somebody who is given maybe a bit of license to express themselves and to be creative, then that might just be the spark that football needs to go back the other direction. But make no mistake, it will. There's always a correction. Some analyst, exactly. they'll find a way and say, is football a bit more boring now? Yeah. Can we keep scoring from set pieces? Maybe not, but we'll find a way around it. And that's just how the game goes and has always gone. And, yeah, we'll see what way it goes, but hopefully it's something we can stay on top of.
And that's what we need to, like even with the inverted fullbacks, it's like Pep does that. Now everyone's done that. I won't quite say it's being phased out the game, but it's almost less important. Like even in recent weeks, Arteta's gone back to traditional fullbacks, Pep the same. So it's just swings and roundabouts. And I genuinely think, like, regardless of what team you support or better yet manage, if I'm Rob Edwards and I could see, there's a new tactic that Pep or Arteta or whatever manager's introducing, I'd be an idiot not to look into it. Now, I might not be able to apply it in the right way. It might not necessarily help me, but you'd be an idiot not to, okay, that works. How can I get ahead of the game? And that's what happens. That's why I always feel this whole Pep's ruined football, Arteta's ruined football, this one's ruined football. How can one individual, one establishment ruin the whole game? If anything, you're thinking one guy's silly, but then the rest of you are following. So who really is? So it is what it is, man. People are just going to be loyal to their agendas. And if I'm completely honest with you, the more that people get mad about specifically Arsenal set pieces, the more I like to see it. Like I can't lie, man. I really get a kick out of it, man. I enjoy being hated, man. You got a couple of questions, Andrew, man. Big up the chat. Make sure you're subscribing to Andrew's platform. It is in the title, people. JT has said, do you guys think even though the football is more free-flowing last game, the lack of individual quality could be because I think it means our system didn't utilize it enough over the season?
So the football was more, football more free-flowing last game or last season?
You said last game.
I'm not sure I really understand the question. I'm sorry.
Same. And I don't think we were free-flowing last game against Chelsea, to be fair.
No, and I don't think we were free-flowing last season either, because we had a lot of injuries and there were loads of reasons why we couldn't quite find our rhythm. I mean, maybe the season before.
Yeah, if anything.
But yeah, I'm struggling to understand that question. Apologies to JT009GV. Sorry about that.
I'm not sure what you're saying there, my guy. What I would say is, at some point, I do think Arteta could give a bit of a license to our attackers. But then, if I'm completely honest, as much as I do that, some of the attackers for the whole totality of this Premier League season, they haven't really cut the mustard. The only thing that's really surprised me